Laker fans, how we doing? My name is Sammy Long. This is another Laker preview video, doing one for every game this season, kind of getting everybody ready for the upcoming Laker matchup. Lakers got a fun one tonight. They're in Minnesota. Always a great matchup. Always fun to see Anthony Edwards, one of the best players in the league, going to be in Minnesota. So, second game of the road trip, back-to-back. We'll get into that in a minute. But and I'm also going to talk about an interesting stat I found on Help Defense. I thought from a X account I thought was interesting. But first, let's talk about the supporting cast stepping up. The game last night was wild. When the Lakers were up with about 6-7 minutes to go, 97-90. I feel like, all right, Lakers going to get a W, coasting to kind of a win. But as Stu Lance kept talking about on the broadcast, that was a crazy game last night. There wasn't a lot of flow to the game. It was a lot of every time it felt like a team was maybe going to go out in front and take a good lead. Something crazy would happen. The Lakers could really never break that 7-point margin of being ahead. It felt like they just couldn't put the game away. And then they kept chipping away, and the Lakers went cold, and they went a few minutes without even scoring, and it felt like they cut it to one, and it felt, oh no, is this a magic game all over again? Is this a game you're going to look back in the standings at the end of the year and go, how the hell did we lose that game? And that would have been a terrible way to start off the road trip. I mean, you get the worst team on the road trip the first night, and you're playing a back-to-back. This is going to be a tough one tonight in Minnesota. Vegas, I'll get into the odds in a minute. But like, you needed to win that game last night, especially after last 5 games, 1-4. Need to start the road trip off with a bang and get a W. When they were coming back, it was like, oh no, this is same old Lakers. This is unreal. But to their credit, the call timeout, Will Hardy cost them the game. Thank you, Will Hardy. We'll take it. And then the guys, great defensive possession. Got to give JJ Redick credit out of the timeout for having the guys locked in. And they got the block. So huge win. I know some people are going to go, how the hell do you barely beat the Jazz by 1? I don't care. D'Lo was out, Reddish was out, Jackson Hayes was out, Austin Reeves was out. I mean, you had tons of guys who were out, and it's a tough road environment. The Lakers know better than anyone that it's tough to get road wins in the NBA. No matter how good or how bad they are, it's a tough thing to do. Any given night in the NBA, someone can beat you. But looking at the supporting cast, it was great seeing Max Christie and Gabe Vincent. This is one of the rare times we've come on here and been praising of them. 9 guys got time. AD, LeBron, Vincent, Rui, and Connect started. Vincent was really nice. 10 points, 4 for 5 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Exactly what he needed to do. Rui, nice contribution, 13.7 boards. Connect had a tough shooting night, 2 for 10, 6 points. Did have 7 rebounds, but that's going to happen. And probably playing with new guys and D'Lo and Reeves not sending him up shots in the corner. Traore had 11 minutes. He got some time, and Koloko got 9. Neither of them scratched. Traore had a couple open looks at the end of the half, but he missed it. Max Christie, very impressed with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was only 2 of 6 shooting, but he was getting the line. He was being aggressive. He wasn't settling for corner threes. He really was attacking the basket. And it felt like a couple times during that game when the Jazz were maybe going to take a little momentum, going to go ahead and kind of break it open a little bit. Christie got a tough earned bucket instead of just jacking it up from the logo, which I feel like a lot of times we do. But it was nice seeing him. Jalen Schifino, also got to give him some props. 13 minutes, 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 for 1. He had a nice steal in there. Seemed to be feisty defensively. So probably the best showing we've seen of him. One of the few times we've actually seen him playing in legit minutes in games that matter. But so it was great. It was 80 unreal, 33 points, 11 rebounds. LeBron had a crazy game. 27 points, 14 assists, 5 boards, 0-9 from 3. I know I was losing my mind when he kept shooting at the end. It was like, LeBron, go to the basket. No one can stop you. You're a freight train when you go to the basket. But they've said it for years. When LeBron's taking threes, it's kind of a win for the other team because LeBron is unstoppable when he gets in the lane and goes to the basket. And concerning he wasn't making them. It was a tough shooting night for him, but still, 27 points, 14 assists. So I'm curious to see how this works with if D'Lo and Reeves and Reddish should be back tonight. You're thinking, especially with D'Lo and Reddish, that's an illness. D'Lo got sick on Friday, probably should be playing. Christie and Vincent certainly earned minutes. I know they were playing before, but I think there's something different when you take off the guardrails a little bit. When Christie and Vincent had been in before, there was a certain level of shots or amount of shots they could probably take before LeBron and AD were like, all right, no, you need to give me the ball. because you're also competing with Reeves and D'Lo and guys for shots. Well, when those guys were out, you needed Christie and Vincent to take shots. They needed to take more shots because you just didn't have the guard play for them to not take shots. I love that they answered the call. I hope this continues as they get back. And Christie's really kind of been on an uptick. Hopefully, Gabe Vincent is kind of his first game where he can break out of his shell a little bit. He's been playing well defensively, but hopefully he keeps up the shooting. I like 5 shots from Gabe Vincent every game. That's a good amount of shots for Gabe Vincent, especially off the bench. I'd like to see him keep that up, and I think it'd be good for the Lakers. So, be interesting to see though how the lineups work tonight. Obviously thinking Traore not getting minutes if those guys are back. Shafino probably not getting minutes, even though he played well. Koloko will probably play as long as Jackson Hayes is out. But how many? It'll be interesting to see if those guys are healthy, and then if they're still sick, maybe they're active and they're only playing a few. Maybe they come off the bench to give some spot minutes. We'll see. But this is gonna be a big game tonight. Minnesota's gonna be rocking. Obviously, Lakers beat them opening night and kind of a thriller. But we'll get to them in a minute. Help defense. There's this X account I encourage you guys to go follow if you like it. It's called Cranges McBasketball. But it's a really good account. Kind of follows the Lakers, gives a lot of kind of in-depth statistics on things. And they did a Laker rotation player defensive impact season grades. So I'll say that one more time. Rotation player defensive impact. So, our guys helping on defense, guys like that. Jackson Hayes gets an A-. AD gets an A-, or Reddish gets an A-. Max Christie gets a B+. Okay? Significant drop-off. D+, Gabe Vincent. D- D'Lo. F, Rui. LeBron, Connect, and Reeves. And AD says on the rise after a slow start. So the rest of the starting lineup are Fs defensively, according to the statistic. And then he said of those A- and B+ guys, the only one that's also above average on offense is AD with an A+. So kind of saying that 9 of Lakers' 10 rotation players are kind of one-way players. So they either are great defensively or great offensively. And obviously that's been the case with D'Lo. That's been the case with Reeves. Kind of the criticism over the years that they can score whatever you want, but the defense isn't there. That's why Max Christie's really exciting, and that's why he's one of my favorite players to watch because that statistic. He's a B+. He's up there. He's a top 4 player on the team in terms of defense. He can defend pretty well, and he has the capabilities. At Michigan State, he was a big-time shooter. He has the capabilities to score. I like him being aggressive. He seems like he's packed on a little muscle, which is big. His rookie year was definitely kind of flimsy and wouldn't really go inside. But you can tell he's got with the trainers and is really kind of taking it to the rack. And I think that's important. It's a little bit of skewed statistic. Obviously, guys are more than just one-way players. But, in LeBron, he can be a great defender when he wants to be. And I get why LeBron's not being an excellent defender every night. Just at his age, that's not possible. But, in the playoffs, that would definitely turn around. But it's definitely important for Rui or Reeves or D'Lo. One of these guys has to be a little bit better defensively because we just, that's why D'Lo going to the bench has worked so well because you just can't have D'Lo and Reeves on the floor at the same time because they're just kind of getting ate up defensively, even though they're scoring. But I thought that was an interesting stat. Again, Cranches McBasketball, really, really good account if you want to follow them. Minnesota preview. So this is a fun team. We're talking about one-way players. Anthony Edwards, best two-way player in the game. That's in my opinion. Just in terms of, he's really a throwback player in terms of he's one of the top defenders in the NBA, and doesn't really have to. If he didn't want to be, he could just do what he does offensively every night, and he'd probably be fine, and he'd still be talked about as one of the best in the league. But he's excellent. This team is kind of in flux. They were the Julius Randle trade. He came over from New York. DiVincenzo came over. They sent Karl Anthony Towns. Both teams, the Knicks and Minnesota, has taken a little while to get there. They're 8-10 right now, so definitely not where they thought they'd be. The problem with this team, I think, is the scoring is not there from anyone else besides Edwards. I mean, Edwards, in their win over the Clippers, 93-92, had 21 points. Everyone else had like 11 points or 13. That was the high of the rest of the starting lineup was 13. They're not getting scoring. They usually play 8 deep. Edwards, Randall, McDaniels, Conley, and Gobert start. Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker come off the bench. So they were on a 4-game losing streak. They won their last game 93-92 over the Clippers, as I mentioned. Joe Ingles is out tonight. He won't be playing. We'll see on Reeves, Reddish, and D'Lo. The betting line is definitely in favor of Minnesota. So what Vegas thinks. They open as a 4.5-point favorite. The line moved all the way to 8.5. It's kind of what happened with the with the Jazz game with the Lakers last night. And interesting enough, they're really thinking this is going to be an under game. So the over-under was set at 225.5. The line has moved down to 219.5 for the number. So people think it's going to be a low-scoring game. This, again, goes back to Anthony Edwards doesn't have a lot of help offensively. I mean, look at the starting lineup alone. Conley, at this point in his career, not a big-time scorer. Gobert, known for defense. McDaniels, known for defense. Randall and Edwards is kind of hard on the floor together because they both need the ball. Randall really is a ball-dominant guy. Obviously, was with the Lakers. And he can score a lot, but he definitely needs the ball in his hand. Not really an off-ball player. And off the bench, the only really shooter is Dante DiVincenzo. And Naz Reid can get you some. He can get a little streaky at center from three. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a nice player as well. So, this is a really good defensive team, but there's not a lot of scoring. So, the Lakers are going to need to bring it. It's going to be rocking. It's a big game. The Lakers already have one win on them. It'd be huge to be having tiebreakers over Minnesota. That would be a big thing because they're probably going to get it together and wonder who they'll bring in at the deadline. So I'm sure that they will get better. But if the Lakers have a tiebreaker over them, be ginormous, be huge. So excited for the games tonight. Let's build on the road trip. Let's go 2-0 on the road trip so far. A big win last night. Thank you guys. Alan will get you guys on the post-game show, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you.